The first thing you should know is that I never planned on falling in love with him. Hell, I didn't even plan on surviving that summer without losing my sanity. Babysitting your boss's teenage son isn't exactly in the job description when you sign up for a low-level office assistant position. But then again, life has a twisted sense of humor. It drops you into the fire and laughs while you burn. I remember the day it started with ridiculous clarity, as if the world conspired to etch every detail into my memory. The office smelled like burnt coffee and printer ink, the kind of place where dreams go to wither under fluorescent lighting. I was filing reports when Mr. Harrison, my boss, leaned over the cubicle wall and said casually, "Ethan, you're good with kids, right?" I laughed. "I guess that depends on the definition of good. I haven't been arrested yet, if that's what you're asking." He didn't laugh. Instead, he stared at me with those steel-gray eyes of his and said, "Perfect. My son just got back from boarding school, and I need someone to keep an eye on him while I sort out some personal matters. You're young, responsible, and you owe me for covering your late report last week. Consider it a temporary assignment." And just like that, my life tilted on its axis. When I first saw Alex, Mr. Harrison's 19-year-old Sony thought life had played some cruel prank on me, because nothing could have prepared me for him. He wasn't just good-looking, he was devastating. Sharp jawline, soft lips, eyes the exact color of a storm about to break. There was a fragility about him, wrapped in defiance, like someone who had learned too early to fight against the world. And when he smiled, when he smiled, it was like the universe reached out and punched me straight in the chest. I should have walked away right then. I should have remembered that he was off limits, the boss's son, a teenager barely stepping into adulthood. But instead, I stood there, stupidly transfixed, while Alex tilted his head and said, "So, you're the babysitter?" The word stung, though he meant it with a teasing smirk. Babysitter. I was 26, for crying out loud, but the way he said it made me feel like a character in some bad rom-com. "More like a glorified bodyguard," I replied, trying to keep my tone cool. "Don't worry, I won't follow you to the bathroom or anything." He chuckled, and it was the kind of sound that could undo a man light, careless, but edged with something raw. And I knew right there I was already in trouble. The house I stayed in with Alex was the kind of suburban dream you'd see in real estate brochures. A wide porch, white shutters, a lawn that begged to be ruined by summer barbecues. But inside, it felt colder than it should have, like a place where laughter had been packed away in boxes. Alex's room was on the second floor, a mess of scattered clothes, guitar picks, and half-finished sketches. He was an artiste, or maybe just a restless soul trying to find somewhere to pour all the noise inside him. He didn't talk much at first, not about the things that mattered anyway. But I noticed the way he looked out the window at night, like he was searching for something the world had stolen from him. At first, our days were awkward. He'd test me with snarky comments, trying to see how far he could push before I snapped. I played along because it was easier than admitting I enjoyed his fire. Somewhere between late-night pizza deliveries, long drives with music blasting too loud, and quiet conversations on the porch, we stumbled into a rhythm. He wasn't just the boss's son anymore. He was Alex, messy, complicated, beautiful Alex. The first crack in my carefully built walls came one humid night in July. We were sitting on the roof, legs dangling over the edge, watching the stars. He passed me a soda can, the metal slick with condensation, and said, almost too softly, "Do you ever feel like you don't belong anywhere?" I swallowed hard because yes, I did. More than I cared to admit. "Every damn day," I whispered back. He glanced at me then, eyes glinting in the moonlight, and for a moment it felt like we weren't just two people sitting in the dark, we were two souls recognizing each other. My chest ached with the weight of it. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, all I saw was Alex's face, the curve of his mouth when he was lost in thought, the softness he tried so hard to hide. And that was the moment I realized I was falling for him. Of course, nothing in life is simple. Mr. Harrison was a strict man, the kind who believed in discipline, success, and appearances above all else. He had plans for Alexa's future already mapped out. No room for detours like art or reckless freedom. and certainly no room for a 26-year-old office nobody who couldn't keep his heart from beating too fast around his son. The danger of discovery hovered over us constantly, like a storm cloud waiting to break. Every glance, every brush of fingers, every shared laugh carried the risk of exposure. But that didn't stop us. If anything, it made everything sharper, more alive. There was a night god. I can still taste the electricity of it when the power went out during a summer storm. The house plunged into darkness, rain hammering against the windows. Alex lit a single candle, its glow flickering over his face, making him look like something out of a dream. We sat close on the couch, the storm raging outside, silence pressing in. His hand brushed mine accident, maybe, but neither of us moved away. I don't remember who leaned in first. Maybe it was both of us, caught in the gravity of something we couldn't fight anymore. Our lips met, soft at first, then hungry, desperate. It was a kiss that tasted like rebellion, like freedom, like every what if I'd ever dared to imagine. When we pulled apart, breathless, Alex whispered, "You know we can't do this." "I know," I said, and then softer, "But I can't stop." Neither could he. The days after that kiss were both heaven and hell. Heaven because every stolen glance, every brush of skin, felt like fire under my veins. Hell because I knew we were walking on a razor's edge, and sooner or later someone would notice. And someone did. One afternoon, while I was grabbing groceries, I ran into one of Mr. Harrison's business associates. He saw me with Alex, saw the way Alex leaned against me, casual but too close, too familiar. The man's eyes narrowed, lips curling into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Interesting," he murmured before walking away. I didn't sleep that night. Neither did Alex. "What if he tells my dad?" Alex asked, pacing the length of his room. "You don't know him, Ethan. If he finds out, it won't just be bad, it'll be the end of everything." I wanted to tell him it would be okay, that we'd figure it out, but I couldn't lie, not to him. So instead I said, "Then we'll just have to be careful, more careful than ever." But the truth was already clawing at us. Secrets have a way of unraveling, no matter how tightly you try to hold them together. That summer was the most beautiful, terrifying time of my life. Every moment with Alex was stolen, precious, fragile. We laughed, we fought, we dreamed about impossible futures. He showed me his sketches, drawings that bled with emotion, filled with worlds he longed to escape to. "Someday," he said, tracing the edge of one page, "I'm going to leave this place, go somewhere nobody knows me, somewhere I can just be me." "And who is that?" I asked. He looked at me then, eyes burning with something that felt like truth. "Someone who loves you." It was the closest either of us had come to saying the words out loud. But love in our world wasn't enough. Not yet. Secrets, once whispered into the dark, don't stay buried forever. I thought I could manage it if we were careful. If we only allowed ourselves small stolen moments, we could make it through the summer without the world finding out. But Alex was fire, and I was foolish enough to think I could hold him without burning. It started with the glances. At dinner, when Mr. Harrison was home, Alex's eyes would flick toward me, soft and fleeting, but long enough that my chest tightened. I'd catch myself staring at him too, tracing the curve of his hand as he cut into his food, the sharp tilt of his jaw when he was annoyed. The silence between us buzzed louder than any conversation, and people noticed silence. One night, after his father had retreated to his study, Alex leaned close to me on the porch and whispered, "He suspects something. I can feel it." I wanted to laugh it off, tell him he was imagining it. But I had felt it too, the way Mr. Harrison's gaze lingered a little too long, sharp and calculating, like he was trying to solve a puzzle he didn't want to believe was real. "Then we'll be smarter," I said, forcing calm into my voice. "He doesn't know. He can't know." Alex didn't look convinced. Days turned into weeks, the summer heat heavy and suffocating. I found myself memorizing him, every laugh, every sarcastic remark, every quiet sigh when he thought I wasn't listening. But with each passing moment, the weight of what we were doing pressed harder against my chest. One evening, Alex grabbed my hand in his room, pulling me toward the window. "Come on," he said, eyes alight. "Let's get out of here." "Out? Where?" "Anywhere but here. There's a carnival in town tonight. We can sneak out just for a couple of hours. No one will notice." I should have said no. I should have reminded him that the risk was too high, that his father would tear us both apart if he found out. But Alex's excitement was contagious, reckless, and beautiful. So I found myself in his car, the windows rolled down, wind whipping through his hair as he laughed like he was finally alive. The carnival lights painted his face in shifting colors, reds and blues and golds, and I swore I'd never seen anything so breathtaking. We rode the Ferris wheel, our knees brushing in the small seat, and when we reached the top, the town stretched out beneath us, glittering like spilled stars. Alex leaned close, his voice barely more than a whisper. "Tell me you don't feel it too." I swallowed, throat dry. "I do." And before I could think, before fear could strangle me, I kissed him quick, desperate, hidden in the shadows of 100 blinking lights. When we climbed off the ride, a man brushed past us, eyes sharp, lips curled. My stomach dropped. It was the same associate I'd seen at the grocery store weeks earlier. "Ethan?" Alex murmured, panic flickering in his gaze. "Don't look at him," I whispered. "Just keep walking." But I knew it was too late. He'd seen. The fallout didn't come right away. For a while, life pretended to go on as usual at the office. Alex sulking through breakfasts with his father. Late-night conversations whispered through half-open doors. But the air was heavy, like the hush before a storm. Then it happened. I was called into Mr. Harrison's office on a Monday morning, the kind of day where the world felt too bright, too normal. He gestured for me to sit, his face expressionless. "You've been spending a lot of time with my son," he said. Not a question. A statement. My heart hammered against my ribs. That was the arrangement, wasn't it? To keep an eye on him. His gaze sharpened. "I've heard things, Ethan. Things that, if true, would be deeply disappointing." I forced myself to meet his eyes, though every instinct screamed at me to look away. "Whatever you've heard, it's not what you think." He studied me for a long, suffocating moment, then leaned back in his chair. "Good. Because if I ever found out you crossed a line with my son, I wouldn't hesitate to ruin you." The threat hung in the air, unspoken but deadly clear. When I left the office, my hands were trembling. That night I told Alex what had happened. "He knows," I whispered. "Or at least he's close to knowing." Alex's face hardened. "So what? Are you going to stop seeing me? Pretend none of this ever happened?" "Alex?" "No," his voice cracked, raw and desperate. "I don't care what he thinks. I don't care if the whole damn world knows. I love you." The words hit me like a blow. Love. He'd said it out loud, finally. And I wanted so badly to say it back, to let the truth out of my chest where it had been clawing to escape. But all I could think about was the promise in Mr. Harrison's eyes, the destruction waiting if we slipped. So instead, I pulled Alex into my arms, kissed his hair, and whispered, "We'll figure this out. I promise." Promises, though, are fragile things. A week later, it all came crashing down. We'd gone out late, just a drive to clear our heads, music loud enough to drown out the noise inside us. When we pulled back into the driveway, headlights flashed across the yard. Mr. Harrison was standing on the porch, arms crossed, face carved in stone. My blood ran cold. "Inside," he barked. Alex stiffened beside me. "Dad, inside. Now." The silence in that living room was suffocating. Mr. Harrison's eyes flicked between us, sharp as knives. "Do you think I'm blind?" he asked, voice low, dangerous. "Do you think I wouldn't notice the way you look at each other?" "Dad, please, shut up, Alex." I stepped forward, heart pounding. "Mr. Harrison, it's not, don't lie to me," he snapped. "I trusted you. I brought you into my home, and this is how you repay me? By corrupting my son." His words sliced deep, each one a knife. I wanted to argue, to shout that Alex wasn't corrupted, that what we had was real, beautiful, worth fighting for. But the fury in his eyes warned me that nothing I said would change his mind. "Get out," he ordered. "You're fired. And if I ever see you near him again, I swear I'll make sure you never find work in this city again." Alex's face crumpled. "No, you can't do this. He's not just some employee, he's—" "Enough," Mr. Harrison thundered. For a moment, everything froze. My heart begged me to stay, to fight, to stand by Alex no matter the cost. But the weight of reality pressed down hard. I met Alex's tear-filled eyes, my own throat tight with grief. And then, because I was a coward, or maybe because I loved him too much to destroy him, I turned and walked out. The days after were unbearable. The silence of my apartment echoed, each empty hour a reminder of what I had lost. I replayed that last look in Alex's eyes over and over, the betrayal, the desperation. I wanted to call him, to hear his voice, to tell him I hadn't stopped loving him for a second. But I knew his father would be watching, waiting for me to slip, and I couldn't risk dragging Alex deeper into the fire. Still, love is a stubborn thing. One night, I found him waiting outside my apartment, rain dripping from his hair, eyes wild. "You left me," he said, voice trembling. "You just walked away." My chest ached. "Alex, you don't understand. Your father—" "I don't care about him," he shouted, tears mixing with rain. "I don't care about his threats or his money or his rules. Care about you. Isn't that enough?" I reached for him, my hand shaking. "It has to be." And then I kissed him, right there under the street lamp, the world falling away until there was nothing but the two of us, clinging to each other like we could outrun the storm. But storms don't end just because you close your eyes. We both knew this wasn't over, that as long as his father stood between us, our love would always be a battle. And yet, standing there in the rain, Alex's hand gripping mine like a lifeline, I realized something. Some battles are worth losing everything for, even if it meant setting fire to the life I thought I wanted. Even if it meant burning until there was nothing left but the truth. Running away always sounds easier than it is. In your head, it's simple. You pack a bag, you take the next bus, you vanish into a world where no one knows your name. But love complicates everything. Love ties you to places, to people, to moments you can't outrun. After that night under the street lamp, Alex and I both knew we were past the point of no return. His father's threats still hung heavy in the air, but so did the truth we could no longer deny. We loved each other, recklessly, desperately, maybe even foolishly, but with every part of ourselves. Days bled into one another, each more dangerous than the last. Alex stopped pretending around his father. He was sharper at dinner, his answers curt, his eyes distant. Sometimes he wouldn't come home until dawn, his car rolling into the driveway long after the lights in his father's office had gone out. And every time I feared it would be the night he was caught. "Ethan?" Alex whispered one evening when he sneaked into my apartment, his hair damp from the rain. "Let's just leave. Tonight. We don't need him or this town or any of it. I've got savings. We'll drive west, find some place where nobody knows us." My heart leapt at the thought, freedom, a life built just for us. But then reality clawed its way back in. "You're 19, Alex," I said softly. "You've got your whole life ahead of you. If we run, we'll be fugitives from your father, from everything he controls. You don't know how far he'll go." He grabbed my hand, fingers trembling. "I don't care how far he goes. I only care if you're with me." The sincerity in his voice broke me, because I wanted that life too. I wanted to be selfish, to choose him and nothing else. But love, real love, sometimes demands sacrifice. A week later, I got the call. Mr. Harrison's voice was sharp, no nonsense. "Ethan, meet me at the office. Tonight." My stomach churned as I walked into his office, the city lights painting cold patterns against the glass windows. He didn't waste time with pleasantries. "You're still seeing him," he said flatly. I froze, unable to lie. "You've ruined him," he hissed, his hands tightening on the edge of his desk. Alex was supposed to have a future. College, law school, career. And now, he spends his nights sneaking out like some delinquent, chasing after you. The anger in his eyes was terrifying, But beneath it, I caught a flash of something else: fear. Fear of losing control, of losing the son he had tried so hard to mold into his image. "I love him," I said quietly, the words tasting like defiance. Mr. Harrison's jaw tightened. "Then you'll do what's best for him. You'll leave." The finality in his tone struck like a gavel. "If you care about my son," he continued, voice like steel, "if you love him the way you claim, you'll disappear from his life. Give him the chance to build the future he deserves. Because if you don't, if you cling to him, I'll make sure you both suffer." The threat was real. I could see it in his eyes. And I realized, in that moment, that love wasn't enough to protect Alex from his father's reach. That night, I packed a suitcase. I didn't tell Alex. I couldn't bear to see the look in his eyes when I said goodbye. Instead, I wrote him a letter, every word soaked with the love I couldn't speak out loud. I told him he was everything, that meeting him had changed me forever, that no matter where I went, a piece of me would always belong to him. And then I left the letter on his nightstand, the ink still damp with my tears. The train station was nearly empty when I arrived. The air smelled of rain and rust, the kind of night where the world feels suspended between endings and beginnings. I sat on the bench, clutching my ticket, trying to convince myself that this was the right choice, that leaving him was an act of love, not cowardice. But love doesn't let go so easily. I heard my name before I saw him. "Ethan." I turned, and there he was, Alex, breathless, raincoat clinging to his body, his eyes blazing with a mixture of anger and heartbreak. He ran across the platform, skidding to a stop in front of me, his chest heaving. "You were just going to leave?" His voice cracked. "Without even saying goodbye?" My throat closed. "Alex, I know." He grabbed my suitcase, flinging it to the ground. "You don't get to make this decision for me. You don't get to walk away like I'm some kid who doesn't know what he wants. I know what I want. I want you." The words hit like a thunderclap. Around us, the station seemed to hold its breath. I reached for him, my hands trembling. "I was trying to protect you. Your father." "Forget my father," Alex shouted, tears streaming down his face. "Forget his rules, his money, his plans for me. This is my life, Ethan. And I'm choosing you. Do you hear me? I'm choosing you." I felt the fight drain out of me, replaced by a rush of something raw and unstoppable. Because he was right. He wasn't a child anymore. He had the right to choose, to love, to live on his own terms. The train's whistle echoed in the distance, a reminder that this was the moment, the crossroads we couldn't avoid. I pulled him into my arms, pressing my forehead to his. "If we do this, there's no turning back." "I don't want to turn back," he whispered fiercely. "I just want you." And then he kissed me hard, desperate, like the world could end in that instant and it wouldn't matter. We didn't take the train that night. Instead, we drove. No destination, no plan, just the road ahead, stretching into the unknown. For the first time, there was no fear, no hesitation. Only freedom. We laughed, we cried. We held on to each other like lifelines. Somewhere along the highway, under the endless stars, Alex curled up against me and whispered, "This feels like the start of forever." And for the first time, I let myself believe it could be. But forever isn't given freely. It's fought for. As the days passed, reality crept in. Money ran low. The world wasn't kind to two runaways with nothing but love to keep them warm. There were nights we slept in the car, mornings where we skipped breakfast because every dollar mattered. Yet even in the struggle, there was beauty. Sharing coffee in a roadside diner, Alex sketching in a battered notebook while I watched the sun rise over unfamiliar towns. Holding hands in motels where nobody cared who we were, only that we paid in cash. And through it all, the love between us burned brighter, fiercer, unbreakable. Because we had chosen each other. Against his father. Against the world. Against every fear and doubt that tried to tear us apart. Still, I knew it wasn't over. Mr. Harrison wouldn't stop looking. He wouldn't let go easily. But as I watched Alex laugh at something silly on the radio, his face lit by the soft glow of the dashboard, I realized something. No matter what came next, No matter how hard the fight, this was worth it. He was worth it. Always. The morning we woke up on the hood of the car, wrapped in one thin blanket under the pale pink glow of dawn, I realized something that nearly undid me. We were still here. Despite the odds, despite the storm we had run through, despite his father's wrath and the uncertainty of the road ahead, we were still together. But happiness has a way of making you forget the shadows that lurk just out of sight. It was only a week into our escape when reality caught up with us. We were sitting in a small-town diner, sharing pancakes that tasted more like cardboard than comfort, when Alex's phone buzzed. He hadn't checked it much since we left. It was almost like he wanted to pretend the rest of the world didn't exist. But this time, he froze when he saw the name glowing on the screen. Dad. The word was a whisper, laced with dread. He almost ignored it. Almost. But some bonds, no matter how damaged, still tug at the heart. With a shaking hand, he answered. I could only hear one side of the conversation, but the fury on the other end was unmistakable. Mr. Harrison's voice roared through the tiny speaker, filled with betrayal and desperation. Alex tried to hold his ground, but his eyes brimmed with tears as his father's words cut into him. When the call ended, he sat there in silence, staring at the half-eaten pancakes like they could anchor him to the earth. He said, I'm ruining my life, Alex murmured. That you're ruining my life. That if I come home now, he'll forgive me. But if I don't. His voice cracked. He said, I'll be dead to him. I reached across the table, grabbing his hand. Alex, listen to me. You're not ruining anything. You're building your own life. One that belongs to you, not to him. But I could see the weight pressing down on him, the battle tearing him apart inside. For all his fire, Alex was still his father's son, and walking away completely wasn't as easy as pretending he could. The breaking point came sooner than I expected. We'd stopped at a small motel that night, the neon sign buzzing faintly in the dark. I was in the shower when I heard the knock at the door. By the time I stepped out, towel wrapped around my waist, Alex stood frozen, staring at the doorway. And there he was, Mr. Harrison. The sight of him sent a chill down my spine. His suit was immaculate despite the late hour, his expression a mask of fury and exhaustion. He didn't spare me a glance at first. His eyes were locked on his son. Alex, he said, voice low but sharp, pack your things. We're leaving. Alex didn't move. No, the word was small but steady. Mr. Harrison stepped into the room, his presence filling it like a storm cloud. You're 19. You don't know what you're doing. He finally turned his gaze on me, venom dripping from every syllable. This man has manipulated you, used you. You think he loves you? He's nothing, Alex. Nothing. The words hit me like blows, but I refused to flinch. Instead, I stepped forward, placing myself between them. He's not nothing, Alex said fiercely. He's the only one who sees me, the only one who lets me be who I am. Mr. Harrison's jaw clenched, his hands trembling at his sides. You think this is love? This is a mistake, a phase. And when it's over, you'll come crawling back, broken. No, Alex said, tears in his eyes but fire in his voice. This isn't a phase. This is real. I love him. The silence after those words was deafening. For the first time, I saw something crack in Mr. Harrison's expression. Not anger, not disappointment, something deeper. Fear. You'll regret this, he whispered. Both of you. Then he turned and walked out, the door slamming shut behind him. The days that followed were heavy. Alex tried to be strong, but I saw the war inside him, the ache of severing ties with his father, the guilt of choosing me over blood. I wanted to tell him to go back, to mend what was broken, to save himself from the pain I knew was coming. But every time I looked at him, I knew I couldn't let him go. We drove west, chasing sunsets in silence, clinging to each other like we were the only two people left in the world. There were moments of laughter, moments of quiet joy, moments where I almost believed we had escaped. But the truth was we hadn't. Not really. It was in California, weeks later, that everything shifted. We'd found a small coastal town, The kind of place where the ocean seemed endless and the air smelled of salt and possibility. For the first time, we allowed ourselves to breathe. Alex sketched on the beach while I worked odd jobs to keep us afloat. Life wasn't easy, but it was ours. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of fire, Alex turned to me. "Ethan," he said softly, "I don't regret it, not any of it. But I can't keep running forever. He's still my dad. And no matter how much he hates us, I need him to know I'm not ashamed." His words struck me like a tide. Because he was right. Running had given us freedom, but it hadn't given us peace. Not yet. So we decided to go back. Not to surrender, not to apologize, but to face him. Together. The confrontation wasn't dramatic, not like I expected. We sat in Mr. Harrison's office, the air heavy with unspoken words. He looked older, more tired, his authority dimmed by the weeks without his son. "I'm not here to fight," Alex said, his voice steady. "I'm here to tell you that this is who I am, and I'm not giving it up. Not for you, not for anyone." For a long time, Mr. Harrison said nothing. Then, finally, he sighed, leaning back in his chair. "You're my son," he said quietly. "And I don't understand this. I don't like it. But I can't lose you. Not completely." The words weren't acceptance, not fully. But they were something. A crack in the wall that had divided them. A start. And sometimes a start is enough. Months passed. Life settled into something almost normal. Alex enrolled in community college, chasing his art with a determination that left me in awe. I found steadier work, enough to keep us going without fear. His father still hovered like a shadow, sometimes cold, sometimes hesitant, but slowly, learning to let his son live his own truth. And through it all, Alex and I built a life together. Not perfect, not easy, but real. On the anniversary of that first kiss during the summer storm, we returned to the porch of his father's house, where it had all begun. The night was quiet, the air warm, the stars bright above us. Alex took my hand, threading his fingers through mine. "You know," he said with a crooked smile, "when I first called you the babysitter, I didn't think you'd end up stealing my heart." I laughed, pressing my forehead to his. "Trust me, I didn't plan on it either." He kissed me then, soft and certain, and in that moment, I realized something I had been too afraid to believe before. We had made it. Against the odds, against the rules, against the storm. We had chosen love and love had chosen us back. And no matter what the world threw our way, that would always be enough. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.